You good, Timmy?
I'm good.
Back in the podcast game. Couple week layover. Today we're going to talk the massive Joe Rogan podcast deal with Spotify. We'll talk some NCAA rules and what's been going on in our lives, and with those NCAA rules starting. You all right there? You gonna cough?
I was gonna burp. I just don't want to burp with the microphone.
Oh, appreciate it. Well, since last podcast, we now have another human in the family.
That's what we do. We grew.
Daddy.
Our trio's a 4-0.
Yeah.
We had a baby boy on Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Coda Lay Curran. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I probably haven't said congrats.
I think you did in text messages. Yeah.
I don't really say congrats.
Congrats.
For what?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I didn't do much.
No, nothing really.
You're basically part of the support staff.
Support staff.
Yeah.
Support for this podcast is brought to you by Our City Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Use the code BS at ourcitycoffee.com and get 15% off today.
Yep.
You like that?
Yeah.
I wasn't even planning to do that, but we did it.
Sounded good.
Speaking of Coda, and the rest of our kids and ladies are sitting 10 feet through a window on
outside,
our porch.
Yeah.
So if you hear some screaming, that's what's going on. So Timmy, early last week, Joe Rogan announces he's going exclusively.
Yes.
So Joe Rogan, let me say
the Joe Rogan experience.
The Joe Rogan experience is moving exclusively to Spotify. So come September, you'll be able to get his catalog of all 1,000, however many videos and podcasts he has. You'll get on Spotify, and then come January 1, he's exclusively there.
Correct.
So some of the numbers, and we talked about this on our way to get some donuts this morning. Some of the numbers
By the way, shout out to Sidecar in Santa Monica.
Why are you giving them? Why?
Dude, because they're so fucking
They didn't
good.
pay for that.
They're so fucking good, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're good.
We go out of our way to go there.
Yeah,
once a month at least, right? Probably once a month-ish. Once every 6 weeks.
You guys more than us.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
go ahead, though.
Delicious, yeah. So Joe Rogan, what they said, so I heard some stats on that. So he's going to make, Forbes said $100 million. I saw some of his boys on the Brilliant Idiots podcast, Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz, said he'll make like 125, 150 up front. They think he'll make another 125, 150 on the back end.
Yep.
And that's with, sales and ads, bonuses, yada, yada.
Yep.
So
Yep.
100 million plus, I think, is fairly safe to say.
Most media companies have been using the $100 million figure as what that licensing deal looks like, which is only 3 years.
It's just licensing.
Yes.
They don't own Joe Rogan. They don't own any of the content that comes out.
They don't own the creative coming out. Yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly. I
like that he came out and said, "Hey, I don't work for Spotify.
Yeah.
I do my own thing."
He has to.
And
I'm sure in negotiation it was, you're not going to have any creative control whatsoever. This is my shit. You're not censoring me. You're not pulling stuff down. This is mine.
But if they're doing the deal, they probably come in with that in their pitch. We don't want to touch anything that you're doing. Yeah,
no, you have to. You're the Joe Rogan guy. He's the number one podcast in the world. You have to.
Yeah. So and here's where I wanted to talk about this. Obviously, that's major just for content, podcasts in general. But there's so many other places. And when you think from an athlete perspective, very few athletes have a podcast. How many current? Is there any big athletes that have a podcast? Big athletes.
I think doesn't Draymond do something? I don't know if it's consistent, but I think he was kind of in and out of stuff, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people like that go in and out.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, LeBron's network of podcasts.
The Uninterrupted boys. Yep.
I don't know if he's even done. I know they were doing the Jordan recap. He was a part of that recently, but he doesn't do his own thing.
Right. But Richard Jefferson and
Channing Frye.
Well, this is like the traveling road tripping. Like I really enjoyed that.
Really good podcast.
Yes,
Those
guys are great though.
They are great.
Yeah.
And when Hawk was playing, Andrew Hawkins, who's now a part of Interrupted, and Joe Thomas, who's a Hall of Fame lineman, they were both playing on the Browns. They started it when they were playing. Joe was hurt, so he wasn't playing. But so there's been some active players. Now there's some retired players, but what I think this shows to athletes is the opportunity in the content space. It's not just, hey, some guys are doing well, getting a bunch of views, they make a few bucks on ads. Yep. This is a legitimate big time business. When you talk $100 million, the LeBrons, the Steph Currys, those major stars will now see the potential that they could, if they wanted to start a podcast, a guy like that, like LeBron starts a podcast, or even, people that aren't the LeBron, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Like, you think how massive those guys, their podcast, their content plays would be. I think this changes how everyone starts to think about podcasts.
Oh, definitely.
Because even when the Ringer sold to Spotify for $250 million, but that's a whole library of different types of podcasts and people.
I think they have 10 to 20 different shows within that,
which is how many different people they use to, they work with. I'm sure dozens on staff. With the Rogan podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, you said there's 5 people?
5 people on staff is what I read, yeah.
Which, what does that include? Jamie, his producer.
Jamie's the only guy that I knew and that you really know of, too.
Yeah.
It's, behind the scenes guys.
But that could include like agent. I know there's a sales guy.
Yeah, sales guy, yeah.
And, those kind of things. Like that's 5 people. That's, that's what's so great about podcasts. You don't need anything. We're sitting here. We set up a camera. It's the tripod broke. So it's sitting on a chair on top of pillows. We have $20 mic stands sitting on top of a table, and this Zoom recorder, which we've used for other projects, that is like $250. It's not an expensive setup. I'll cut it up. Take me about 30 minutes to cut up and post on Anchor, which will blast out to all the other podcast forums and YouTube. That's it.
And that's how, if you look at Joe Rogan's early days, I mean, he was less than what we have, basically.
Oh, definitely.
It was like, he would take like a bootleg microphone system at a hotel and just talk to people.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Even people think Joe Rogan Experience has been massive because he's been around for 9 or 10 years. I think he's been doing podcasts. And he was well known getting into it, obviously. But his podcast really blew up over the last couple years, 3 years is where he really took a next level. I wonder if he knows. I mean, I'm sure he does know, but if
sees the chart.
If it was like one guest he had on, or
you could probably go back and look at even his YouTube series and like see where it went from like 10,000 views to 100,000 views or something, and you could just see where that started.
But obviously now it's so massive, 190 million downloads a year. They
said
a month.
A
month.
190 a month. Yeah,
that's so crazy.
Yep.
So that's about where we're at with our pod.
Ish.
Yeah. And they said he was making $30 million a year. That's why I was thinking ahead of myself there. $30 million a year. So good money, but great money.
I mean,
tons of money.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever money.
He'll make the guaranteed 100 over the 3 years allegedly, plus a lot more.
So I saw most people were like, this is the best. Like if you look at anyone in the MMA world is like, oh my God, this is like the best thing of life.
Yeah.
But most people in podcast world, best thing of life. I saw a handful of people who were like, he got the raw end of it. Yeah. He was basically like, his media empire is $1 billion media empire. He got shafted off $100 million. And that was the figure they were using, was 100 million, meaning like he makes 30 something million a year. He loses his, not control, but he loses his audience basically from like, they use the comparison of like Howard Stern. So Howard Stern was massive in the 90s, went to Sirius, and is still a big figure, but he's not a household name like he was in the 90s. They're saying that's what basically is going to happen to him. However, this is only a 3-year deal too. $100 million for 3 years. He could take all that library content and yank it back and do whatever the hell he wants.
3 years. That's it. What? And we talked about this on that drive to the donut shop earlier today too, is what's going to happen with all these other media outlets. Netflix, why would they not have something like this?
Netflix needs
you
to
brought
have
that up.
something like
they
this.
should. Apple, why not Apple try to go out and compete for these big names? For Spotify, this was a huge statement, I guess, saying like we're going for the biggest in the game and we're going to pay what we got to pay to get them. We want you, they're making a huge push obviously for podcasts with The Ringer a couple months ago, and then they're becoming the top of the podcast game.
I like what they're doing.
I love it too.
It's like cutthroat. But look, think about what Apple Plus or Apple TV or whatever they're calling it. They have like, I think it's like a $4 billion budget for the TV aspect of it. If you make like, let's say one show, because they're using like Steven Spielberg and Oprah and Jennifer Aniston, they're using huge names to use that as promotion. But instead of paying them $10 million for an entire series, pay Jennifer Aniston $1 million to create a podcast once a month, or I don't know, whatever it is. It's a fraction of the cost, and the content is still there, and the quality is still there, and clearly people are listening to the podcast, and that's why the dollar figures are there. You're okay with that mic setup?
Yeah, I'm fixing it. I did tighten it at a weird spot, so it was starting to come off. Not good. But so again, I think the opportunity is for athletes to understand that how big and viable this is as a revenue source. Like we keep talking about different ways for athletes to make money, and branding wise, is not just post some stuff on Instagram, post some stuff on Twitter. It's like show who you are. That's such a huge component of playing or being an athlete and building your brand, is showing who you are. Like why give us a reason to care about you, and then when you have something to sell, we'll invest in that. Mm-hmm. And I think this is obviously Joe Rogan's the top of the top, but there's lots of opportunity in the space right now, whether it's, media companies vying for this, or even just a brand building play and other brands wanting to be a part of your podcast. It's a great time to be creating podcasts.
Content in general.
But yes, podcast obviously is super, super massive, because it is. We're sitting here, we're on a couch in my living room talking, and that's all. That's as simple as it is. That's like, when do you ever listen to Up in Smoke? I think we talked about
No,
this.
but I like it. Yeah, I see the clips of that mostly.
Great podcast. 2 former NBA guys, and they're real as it gets. And they
where's that at though? What's the platform?
That's a Showtime.
Showtime?
Yeah.
Okay,
there you go.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I don't know that Showtime does any other podcasts.
Yep.
But I really think
it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think it's I want to be able to be working with more people on podcasts. Like when we're working with athletes, and this could be pro athletes, this could be college athletes, this could be college coaches. These are all opportunities to be able to grow your brand and make some damn money.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. All right, Timmy. Speaking of colleges and all that, I know we talked a little bit about this on our last pod. Is athletes being able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Here's where we are right now. From the NCAA rules, is there's going to be a hearing in August. I think it's August 31st about what's going to happen divisionally. So each division 1, 2, 3 will pitch.
Yep.
What they think specific logistics should be. They'll go through that a little bit, or work through it a little bit. Then October will be another pitch, and then come January 21st, 21, easy for me to say, there will be the rules should be getting approved and move forward.
Right.
So that's and basically what the rules outline. So here's what this means for athletes. You can get paid off your name, image, and likeness. You're not allowed to use team logos or the big brands that your teams are associated with. So if you're a Nike school or Adidas school, you're not necessarily allowed to use that.
And boosters can't pay you.
Oh, well,
I'll
get to that.
So, you had to say 2 things.
Well, boosters are not allowed to. Not that they can't pay you.
Yes,
they can pay you.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to get paid to go to a school, and you're not allowed to get paid on performance. That's it.
Right.
Those are essentially the rules. That's essentially the rules.
Yeah.
As far as school-wise, schools are not allowed to help an athlete get paid. They're not allowed to, even as simple as talk to an alumni who might be interested in working with athletes. They're not allowed to do that. They have to be very hands-off. And I know we talked about this, is where that's our opportunity to get in and help create a trusted third layer for coaches and players. So they know that anyone and businesses, I should say, coaches, players on one side, businesses on the other side, us in the middle, to make sure everything's fair and work and even. And that's where we've talked now to a handful of schools. We've talked to football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. Well, as of tomorrow, we have a couple calls with women's basketball teams. Those will be where we start. But we think it's a whole. Almost every sport.
Every single sport.
Maybe not every single sport. But it depends on obviously where the school is or what the school is and who the people are. But right now, we've seen from conversations that either schools are in our route. So we thought, from a business wise, where do we go with this? Do we go contact athletes directly? Are we contacting 19, 20-year-olds? Or are we contacting schools? We thought, let's go to the school. We want to build trust with them, and then we can work with their players. It just makes sense, or made sense to us, to help go in and not go to some 19-year-old and let them figure that out. It's easier if we can get into the coaches and let them know what we do, what we can provide, and then bam, we're in. Right?
Correct.
Where was I going with that?
No idea.
So that's why we went that route.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to give background. So that's why we went that route as far as going through coaches. Now, in the handful of schools we've talked to, I'd say almost every coach is like, yes, love it, into it. And almost every coach has also been like, well, how are we able to implement this? How do I make this happen? Because I know my head coach, because we're talking to mostly recruiting coordinators or director of operations, like those kind of titles, who are very in tune with this, and they tend to be more like creative and younger, and they're more apt to like, all right, yeah, you're right. This makes sense. The reasons you just laid out, yes, we need to be doing this. It is a recruiting advantage for our class. For football people that are recruiting 2021 right now, this is a major recruiting advantage, and they understand that. But how do I take it to my head coach who doesn't understand social media, So if you talk about a social media contract with a kid, he doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, doesn't have any idea of how to pitch that or help them, or if a kid even came to them, they wouldn't know what to do with that. It's a foreign language to most of them. So I think that's been the basis of where things are. They're like, yes, we're in. Now help me, or how can we pitch it up the ladder? Right?
Yeah, and I think that you're saying, yes, they're in. It's because of we have a lot of skill sets we both played high school, played college football. You coached. We've been in business. We've worked with athletes. We help build brand social. We've done everything.
Been on the brand side, been on the athlete side.
Every single side. We've worked with brands to hire. We literally know every single angle. So we can come to them with a lot more experience than a lot of people, most people, from every single. And we literally understand every single angle because we've lived through it all, and that's why they like it.
Yes.
Because there's nothing that we can't cover in this space.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect fit for us, and that's why coaches are like, yes, but how can we move forward? Type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So big. Hopefully by the next time we have a podcast, we'll have somebody we're working
more
with.
details.
Yeah. Specifics.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to be able to get into each scenario and here's what's going on. We can't name schools or talk about schools.
Yeah.
We could, I guess, but we don't want to
at
this point. But I've talked to, major schools, top 10 type football schools, top 25 basketball schools, and in major conferences, schools, of course. And I think this is going to be a big opportunity for us to help. At the end of the day, we want to be advocates for the athletes.
Yep.
Because they don't know what their value is. Athletes don't understand, especially when we're talking college athletes, they don't understand their value at all. Whether that's, someone could come at them with a $1,500 deal and they'd be like, oh my God, $1,500, great money. But when you look at them and the person, you think, oh, that person, we would look at him, I should say, and see that person is like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. That if they want you to come for an appearance, you're worth $2,500. And instead of just pitching one $2,500 deal, let's pitch 2 or 3 appearances over a 6-month deal and then charge $6,000. Think about the next step and make it bigger than just one appearance or one social media post or whatever the deal is for them. Mm-hmm. I think that's where we can really help be an advocate for the kids who don't have any idea. And even, coaches obviously aren't allowed to be a part of this, but even if coaches were able to be a part of it, and this is part of my pitch every time too, is not one single coach has ever negotiated a contract outside of football. It's outside of something that has to do with their football. Mm-hmm. So whether it's their coaching contract, all the coaches we've talked to have only negotiated coaching contracts. When you're looking at the Nick Sabans of the world and the Dabo Sweeneys of the world, they're probably negotiating other stuff.
They're AT&T. They've done that.
They're
stuff,
doing different, but even the agents are doing that. Yep. They're not touching that shit. So even if they were allowed to do that, they wouldn't understand that. So we want to go in and help.
Well, they don't want to either.
Then they don't want to.
Yeah, they want to coach football.
And that's another thing, and you hear me say it when we do the pitches, that, I've coached, I understand. I know it's small level Division II, Division III stuff, but I understand you don't want to be involved in any of this shit. You don't want to hear about a kid's brand, but now it's where it is, and you have to deal with it. Let us, it'll be around, but let us take care of the hassle and the BS of it.
Yep.
Yeah. What else, Timmy? I know I had a couple things. Hey, I got a call tomorrow. Speaking of coaches right now,
news?
I'm looking at an email. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I think that's Tuesday, but whatever. We'll get to that later.
Deal.
But another big school, big opportunity, and I think that'll be a one we'll do. That's the second coach I'm talking to at that school.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I think the position that we're taking it's so different. You'd have to just be blind not to see the opportunity of what we're providing, where coaches don't have to do anything, essentially.
Yeah.
They don't. Athletes don't have to. We're literally just going to do everything and just show you the way.
Well, athletes will have to do the work once.
Here's the guide. Here's the plan. Let's implement what will we do together collectively. But I'm saying it's not like, here, you go do some stuff, and let's all reconvene in a month or two from now.
No, we want to. Yeah.
We're hand-holding through the whole thing.
We want to be there.
Hell yeah.
I've told this to one coach, and I said, we want to work with a handful of schools. That's it. And we don't want to be working with competitors, and it's Alabama, Auburn. We don't want to be working with both. It just feels weird. We haven't talked to those schools. That's why I can say them. But I want to be able to, if we go to a school, I want to be working with them so we can help them with their athletes and destroy all the other schools. I feel that still competitiveness when we, there's another company in our space right now. They're all over stuff too. They're only doing one portion of what we do, but they're in the space, and I'm all over that shit. I don't, like for me, we can't let that company do more than what we're doing, and that's why we provide more. That's why, and I think we'll be way better at it once we get into some of these other schools. But I love the competitiveness of being. Like I almost feel that. Like I feel, and we're obviously not playing anything, but I feel the competitiveness of like, all right, fuck that dude. Like we're coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of shit. Yeah.
I'm game. I'm with you, clearly.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
We've got a handful of calls over the next 2 days. What else, Timmy? I don't think there was anything else we talked about. Do we want to talk about our pitch? That's what we said.
Talk about what?
We brought it before. I brought it before. Do we want to even bring up what we're pitching? But we did.
Yeah, you did.
Essentially.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to talk about is the UFC. Remember how we talked about that in the last one?
Yeah.
What we thought the buys were going to be?
Yeah, but whatever.
Did you see what they were? No, this is massive because it's talking
700?
about 700 million people or 700,000 people.
Yeah.
Which is 42 million plus people of dollar bills that the UFC got from the pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
That's massive. Conor McGregor's are like $1 million. This was a Gaethje and Tony Ferguson, who if you don't even follow sport, you don't even know who he is, and they got 700,000 people who bought it. I think that's pretty massive.
Well, what that means is that people are sitting around watching.
They're starving for content. They're starving for sports. They're starving for live.
Yeah, I still think a lot of people have not taken advantage of the time at home and creating content plans. You know how many people I've talked to, athletes specifically, WNBA, UFC, NFL, NBA, and people some have been doing a pretty good job. Most people ain't doing shit. Yeah. They're just chilling.
Well, like today, did you see the golf tournament today too?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch it.
I would be very interested to see what those numbers are. I feel like it's going to be
big. It's
going to be really big.
So it's called The Match.
Right.
I think it's the Capital One The Match.
Yep.
It's Peyton Manning, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Tom Brady. I don't know who's on whose teams, but two.
It's Phil and Tom.
Okay.
Yep. Which I don't know why. Why isn't there more?
Hold on, I was just gonna. Damn it, Timmy. I was gonna talk.
Good,
about
I can interrupt that. Yeah. Damn it. Well, I'll keep flowing until you remember then.
Here's what I was gonna say. Okay. If athletes could sit and spend 15 to 30 minutes per day to understand and work on their social media, they would make so much more money. And I know we've said stuff like that before, but think about so I'm thinking about this when we watch the Jordan doc. When you look at LeBron, all of these guys, while they make tons of money in their sport, make more money outside of the sport. I don't know why it's not so obvious that like the outside brand building, you make more money 99% of the time. I guess that's not probably not accurate, but you make more money a lot of the time. Yeah. And especially if you're good at it. Again, LeBron does. Michael Jordan does. I'd love to see what other big athletes what does Tom Brady make outside of the NFL?
I don't know.
He doesn't do a ton. I'm sure Peyton Manning.
Well, he took equity in Under Armour instead of taking a.
Oh, that's right.
Like this
that's
is
right.
3-4 years ago or something. It's a good stock move.
Yeah, but he's also fairly new to. He's done a lot more in the last couple years.
Yeah,
5 years ish. But there's
and
obviously
Jordan. What did you say? $90 million he made in his career.
He only made $90 million.
And he's worth $2.1 billion.
Yeah, there you go.
It's everything outside or off the court.
And it's easy. Like if people listen to this, oh well, they're outliers. Like it's Michael Jordan, that's LeBron James. But if you look at numbers of people, we can look at UFC numbers. I'm sure Conor McGregor's made more. No, that's not true. Outside of the UFC, I was gonna say
not that Mayweather fight.
Yeah,
take that off the table.
But yeah, if you take that out, I guarantee he has.
Yeah.
The John Joneses of the world who make good money, make millions of dollars to fight. I bet you he's made more money outside of the cage.
Mm-hmm. You know, he was a Gatorade and Nike guy years ago.
He was a Gatorade until
until stuff happened.
Had some issues. Yeah. He was a Gatorade Nike guy. Yeah. We know what it cost for him to make an appearance.
Yep.
A shit ton of money. So it's. Why is it fuzzing?
Yeah, you got a little fuzz.
Fuzzing. Oh. So while it seems so obvious that there's tons of money outside of your sport is really the tool. There we go. We're going down here again.
Yeah, you're having some mic issues, technical difficulties over here.
I'm going here. We're almost done anyway.
We're going stand up mic on it. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So while it seems like,
you're good.
I thought it was gonna fall off. I wanted to say that one more time clearly.
Outside brand building.
Yeah.
Making more money off your sport contract.
Yeah.
Is where you're going.
Yeah. I think that's it.
I mean, but that's accurate. I mean, and I think that Joe Rogan thing, reiterates the whole thing.
Sure.
Just to loop that whole thing back together. But yeah, 100%.
Continue to build your brand, get people to care, and in the back end, hopefully you can make some more money out of your sport. Your sport, here's what I was going to say. Your sport is your tool. You can only play that sport for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you break a leg, you get a car accident, career could be over tomorrow, today. But if you're able to build more outside of that and start revenue streams before anything bad happens to you, you're set up for success for the long term and not just, you know, per contract. You know, some of these NBA guys and NFL guys, they live paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
They ball, but they live paycheck to paycheck. And it shouldn't be like that. You should be able to make enough money outside of your sport to not even touch that kind of stuff. Anything else to add today, Timothy?
Nope.
All right. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.